What's going on, everybody? It is Furkyz from Mun, and today we're going to go over a tutorial on user interface or creating some UI in Fortnite and having it appear in your game. The goal was to deviate a little bit from materials and provide you another very basic tutorial on how to get started in your UEFN journey and getting a few of those customizable features that make it feel like Fortnite, but having your own personal twist to it. So the image I show on the left side is actually applying and creating that widget using devices as the rails to then display it onto the player screen when activated. And then I created a little bit of flow just to show you what we're actually going to do. So we're going to create the widget, add our custom image into it / add features, compile it, pair it to the HUD messaging device, tie the HUD messaging device to a button, and enable both upon activation via features. And when you start your game, you can press that button and it'll display the widget. So let's get started. The goal is to show you what the end output actually is. So let me hit this button here. And boom, you can see that we created a custom asset, put it into a widget, and when a player activates a button, you can see the logo. I'll do it one more time. Sweet. So we know it works. Now let's get into the details on how we can create this output. We showed you what the output actually looks like. Let's go over a few key details to ensure we have a successful tutorial. The first one being I imported my custom asset via a texture 2D, and it is imported via the power of two dimensions, which is 512 by 512 or 256 by 256. You'll get an error message. Just make sure to follow the power of two rule bringing stuff into Unreal Engine, Unreal Editor Fortnite. With that being said, we are then going to go into creating a widget, which you can see here is the one we just showed you. You can see that I created a canvas panel, added a stack box, and applied my custom image to it, and then placed it at the top of the screen. Let's create a new one to show you how you actually do that. So we have our image here in our appropriately labeled folders. Please always label your folders correctly. We're going to right click here in the content browser, blank space. You'll then go to the user interface option and select widget blueprint. From here, you'll choose the first option, which is the user widget, and we are going to name this. We're going to call it widget blueprint mapbox because we don't want to duplicate names as it creates confusion. Now that we've created it, we're going to go in here and create the actual widget itself. Before you do anything in here, you always need your boundaries, and that's why you'll bring in the canvas panel. We have it set to a dimension of 1280 by 720. It's a good place to start, especially as a beginner. Those are my thoughts. From there, you're then going to bring in a stack box, which allows you to actually place things into it. You're going to left click and drag this down to put it into the canvas panel. So you can see that in Mapbox, you have a canvas panel and then a stack box inside. And then we're going to pull in an image, which you will go to the common tab, select image, drag that down and put it into the stack box. So think you have a 3-layered cake. You have your image as the base, the stack box on the second layer, and canvas panel as your primary layer. If you collapse them all, the canvas panel appears first. From there, we are going to go select the image and bring in our custom asset. That can be done two ways. The first one being through the content browser here on the bottom left, and then dragging and dropping. So you can grab, left click, and drag this into your image slot right here. Or you can go into this drop down and select any of the custom images provided. We're going to stick with this option for now and then fix the dimensions a little bit. I'm going to go with 256 by 256 just to make sure it's a box and not too stretched out. And then we're going to go back to the stack box here because as you can see, it's a little iffy and that's not what we want to put out. So we're going to go into the stack box section, go to the right side in the details panel and change where our anchor is at. The first one being we are going to click the anchors dropdown and select top center. From there, you can see our anchor moved, but not our image. Why is that? It's because our X and Y position still remains in the original spot. Let's get that to 0 and recenter it here. From there, we are going to go and choose our alignment. I usually do 0.5 for X because that directly centers the stack box with the anchor. It makes things a little bit easier. And then we're going to click size to content. That plays a very drastic role in making this appear clearly. Always make sure to have this selected, especially if you're trying to wrap images. So we click size of content and perfect. We are perfectly center. See, if we did the alignment a little bit differently, like let's try 2, you can see that we move to the left. Let's try -2, we move to the right, and think why you're going to be positive. So if you click 2, you're going to go above. If you click -2, you're going to go down. So think this anchor is your 0 point on the X and Y axis going down and across. But for now, let's just get this back to its original state of 0.5. Perfect. We have successfully created our widget. You're going to click compile and save this. From here, you can see that we added our custom image, created a canvas panel, added a stack box, and put our image into the game. That's perfect. But now we actually need to tie it to something to have it appear. So we're going to X out of this and go back into here. This is part of the flow that you saw earlier, the first one being the HUD messaging device and also the button. And we have a HUD controller. This is just to remove everything else except the messages. So drag one into the game. This can be done by selecting Fortnite, searching up HUD controller. And as you can see, it appears right here. Just grab it and drag it into the game. On the show HUD options, click no because that hides everything. However, make sure to keep the show HUD messages on so you can actually see what you're working on and you can see what tutorial we're doing now. From there, you're going to drag in a HUD messaging device, which drops into the game, and we are going to choose the noise and the output we want. So there's one thing called HUD widget. We are going to want to choose the one we just created. As you can see, a full drop down was created, but you can see that, hey, there's our widget mop box that we just created. Perfect. From there, we need to make sure that the noise is pretty fun. We're just going to do a checkpoint noise, a little bit different than what we showed you. And then in the user option functions, we want this to show when activated. And that can only be done by selecting the button on interact and vice versa. When enabled, we pull from the HUD message device and show the event that we have tied to it, which is the Mountain box. So let's push these changes real quick and then go dive into what this button looks like. While we're waiting for this to load, I'm going to pull this back up and just go over what we actually just did. So we went into UEFN and created a widget blueprint. From there, we dragged in our custom image we uploaded using the power of 2 and added a few features via alignment and shaping. We then compiled it in the upper left-hand corner and saved it. And then we just tied it to 2 devices, being the HUD messaging device and the button. We use the HUD controller to hide everything else, which creates this output, which is on the button being interacted with, we put out the widget we created, and that's tied to the HUD messaging device. In turn, presents our custom image with a pretty cool noise. Let's see if the game loaded here. Looks like it's still editing, so this is a good time to go over maybe a little bit of a fundamental. When you create this, there are a few other options you can choose to do, which is adding text, adding more materials, and custom backgrounds. The UEFN website and tutorials have a ton of items there. I highly encourage you to go in and actually learn these things rather than relying on tutorials. Again, my goal is to put out incredible tutorials for you to learn from and get started in UEFN. However, you need to be able to learn to fish and then fish. Those tutorials challenge you to do it independently, and in turn, you build that domain knowledge and being able to get it done. So now that the game is loaded, thankfully, and enough talking from me, if we go back to this button here and press it, sweet, the Mont logo appears with a cool noise, and we customize it. That is it for this tutorial. The goal is to get a little bit more expansive using text or tying a timer to it, or additionally a scoreboard. I'll keep you all updated on what is next. However, thank you so much for your time today in watching this tutorial. I'd love to have a comment on what else you're looking for from the UI basic/beginner category and any challenges you faced with that I could clear up. But this has been Furkyz from Monten. Thank you so much. Enjoy gaming and do good in the world. Thank you.